In 1776, 13 colonies dared to defy the British Empire, igniting a revolution that would change the world. What fueled the fight for independence? And how did a ragtag army defeat one of the greatest powers on Earth? Let's find out. The American Revolution was not your typical war. It wasn't about land, power, or wealth. It was about freedom. For decades, the 13 colonies had enjoyed a remarkable degree of self-governance, shaping their own laws and managing their own affairs with the guidance of elected representatives. But all that changed with the rise of King George II. He looked at his American colonies as a source of wealth rather than as partners in governance. He imposed a series of new taxes and regulations that were designed to extract more money from the colonies, but instead ignited a firestorm of protest. The colonists, who had grown accustomed to a certain degree of autonomy, resented the king's heavy-handed approach. They saw the new taxes as a threat to their way of life. The seeds of rebellion were sown. As the situation grew increasingly tense, the colonists began to organize. In 1774, delegates from 12 of the 13 colonies gathered in the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia. There they drafted a list of grievances and demanded the repeal of the oppressive acts. But King George was unmoved. He viewed any challenge to his authority as an act of treason, and so the stage was set for conflict. In April 1775, the fighting began in earnest with the battles of Lexington and Concord. Though outnumbered and outgunned, the colonial militia held their ground, forcing the British to retreat. These early victories gave the colonists a much-needed boost in morale and showed them that they could win the war. However, they soon realized that to defeat the mighty British Empire, they needed a strong leader. Enter General George Washington. Initially, the colonies had been hesitant to embrace armed conflict with Britain. Many had hoped that the dispute could be resolved through negotiation and compromise. But as the conflict escalated, it became clear that diplomacy was not an option. King George's intransigence and the British government's determination to suppress the rebellion left little room for peaceful resolution. So when the call went out for a commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, the Virginia delegation offered the position to George Washington. At first, he was reluctant to accept. He knew that the task before him was daunting, to say the least. The British were a formidable opponent, with a well-trained army, a powerful navy, and vast resources. The colonies, on the other hand, had a ragtag army of farmers, shopkeepers, and laborers. But Washington's reluctance was overcome by the urgency of the situation. The colonies needed a leader, and they needed one fast. Washington accepted the appointment and set about the task of creating an army from scratch. He faced numerous challenges, including a shortage of supplies, a lack of training, and the absence of a formal military structure. But he was undeterred. With his leadership, the Continental Army began to take shape. But it wasn't just about creating an army. Washington understood that to win the war, he needed to cultivate support from the colonies. He traveled throughout the 13 colonies, rallying the people to the cause and enlisting soldiers to his army. His charisma and determination proved infectious, and soon he had thousands of men ready to fight for independence. With his army in place, Washington turned his attention to strategy. He knew that to defeat the British, he needed to be smart, strategic, and most importantly, patient. He realized that the war would be long and bloody, and that his army would face many setbacks. But he also knew that the cause was just. The Americans were fighting for their right to self-governance and their freedom from tyranny. That gave them a powerful edge. And so the war began. The early battles were tough. The Continental Army was inexperienced and outgunned. But Washington's leadership and the Army's growing confidence led to a series of victories that stunned the world. The Battle of Trenton in 1776 was a turning point in the war. Washington's surprise attack on the Hessian troops was not only a military victory, but a testament to his strategic brilliance. It gave the demoralized troops a much-needed boost and showed them that they could win. As the war dragged on, the odds began to shift in the colonists' favor. France, Spain, and the Netherlands, eager to see the British humbled, provided crucial military and financial aid. And with the help of these allies, the Continental Army grew stronger. But it was the leadership of George Washington that ultimately led the colonies to victory. His strategic brilliance, his ability to inspire his troops, and his unwavering belief in the cause of independence made him a legend. When the war finally ended with the British surrender at Yorktown in 1781, it was clear that a new era was dawning. The American Revolution had succeeded. The 13 colonies were free and independent, and George Washington was a national hero. The American Revolution was a monumental event in history. It was a war about freedom, a fight against tyranny, and a testament to the power of leadership. George Washington's story is an integral part of that legacy. His leadership, courage, and determination made him the man considered to be the father of America. If you liked this video, please leave a like and comment. Thanks for watching. See you next time.